Welcome to the Communication Diva Podcast, episode 51. In this episode, an interview with artist, teacher, and visual communicator Marilyn Dyer on the subject of art as communication and her own passion for the environment. Are you picking up on a pattern? Episode 45 was a podcast about silence. In this episode, you are listening to a discussion about the visual arts. Stay tuned for future episodes of the podcast when the Communication Diva will tackle such audio communication gems as current fashion trends and sign language.
Hi, I'm Jenn Swanson, and welcome to the Communication Diva podcast. I'm here to talk about the art of communication simplified. You know, the root of most conflict is communication breakdown, and the idea of this podcast is to help you to improve your communication skills so that you can take your business or your personal relationships to the next level. So that is what I hope to do. And if this is your first time listening or your 51st time listening, you are welcome, and I'm so glad that you've taken the time out of your busy life to come and spend a little of it with me. Now, this is December, and this is probably the last podcast, or close to it, of 2012. I might do one on Christmas Eve. We'll see how life proceeds. We are in the process of trying to help my husband Scott's parents move house. And that has been quite the trial because the system of real estate in the U.S. is not the same as what we're used to here in Canada. And it's much more confusing. And it seems that they have left everything to the last minute as to whether or not our mom and dad can move. And they're supposed to be moving this Friday, and they only found out yesterday that it was actually going to happen. I'm not quite understanding how come this is so challenging and so difficult. It's very, very different than what we're used to here. So it's been a bit of a challenge running back and forth across the border to help with that. And hopefully we'll be doing more of that this week and helping them to get all settled so that that will all be done. But crazy time of year to be moving. Today, I am bringing you a conversation that I had with Marilyn Dyer, who is an artist and a speaker and a teacher and just one of those people, you know, those people that when you first meet them for the very first time, you are compelled by them and you know that you have to talk to them. And if you have a podcast, you have to interview them. Well, I met Marilyn back in the summer, and she lives in South Surrey, which is not very far away from where I am. And Marilyn was one of those people. The moment I met her, I thought, she's amazing. I must have more conversation with her. And so I got to do that and spent about 3 hours at her home having a wonderful time, a wonderful conversation over some coffee and treats. And I wanted to share Marilyn and her incredible vitality and passion with you this morning. So here is artist Marilyn Dyer. I'm going to jump right in and say welcome, Marilyn.
Oh, hi, Jennifer. This is a wonderful experience, hearing about communication and media.
Yeah, we've been having a great conversation over a cup of coffee and some goodies here, and now we're sitting in Marilyn's studio, which is beautifully set with a window and greenery outside and all sorts of fantastic artwork. And I wanted to just ask you to begin with, Marilyn, how you started in your artistic journey.
I don't remember when I started. I guess I was about 5 when I realized that I looked at things a little differently than some of the members of the family. We were on the farm, very, very close to nature, and what a beautiful opportunity to learn about interaction in nature and our relationship with it, which I think I learned very early. And I was part of a family, especially the Irish part of the family, that were very artistic. And it was nothing for me to be able to hear others speak about placing the rocks in the right position and spending the workmen coming in, like the people coming from the farm fields into the backyard or the front yard and saying, we've just found the right rock to be placed. So I lived in a family where art and communication through art was acceptable. And I remember thinking I was always a little bit hesitant about speaking as a child. I was very quiet, and I would say, let me draw it for you. They'd say, well, what did it look like? Or what are you trying to tell us? And I'd say, let me draw it. And so I would take my crayons, which I always had enough of, and I would draw very succinctly what I was thinking and feeling. And it became part of my communication system so early that I can't remember not having it as part of me. As, of course, I've matured and studied and taught and written, my own maturity and my own philosophy has grown stronger. And now I use other kinds of imagery to really say what I want to communicate. And right now, I have such a strength within me to say something about what's happening in the environment. And so my communication has taken a turn so that I really have some focus that I want to move into in the next few years before I get old.
Right. I can't imagine that. You're amazing. So you, over the years, you've been teaching and you've got a group that you meet with and you've spoken and you've written. Can you talk a little bit about those things?
Well, I always wanted to be in some kind of a medical field as I grew up. And I found that after going to nursing that I felt that I could not use my creativity to the same extent, although I knew I would be very good in that field. And so I went to university and got as many courses in art as I could, and then became a teacher, something I thought I would never do, but I did. And obviously, I was a teacher with some imagination, and I was noticed because of that, and my art supported what I was saying. I guess the two communication systems worked together. And finally, there was some notice taken of me, and very gradually, I worked from one kind of teaching to another, Teacher Development Center for the Fine Arts in Calgary, and then the University of Calgary, where I taught, and the two first courses for the First Nations people. I went out to the Stony Reserve and taught a course in art the first time that the university was doing that. I was an assistant there. And then that winter went to the Gleason Reserve, where I was teaching art with them. And they were so fantastic. I learned a great deal from them. Although I was supposed to be teaching them, I learned so much. And following that, just kept on working on my own way and making statements with my own art. I didn't get rid of that or ignore that. I was raising a family, but I always had the easel in the kitchen. I always had note paper nearby for ideas that would come in the night or the day, or while I was making cookies or stirring something or holding a child. But so all these things worked to help me understand a little bit better. I went to Africa. We were there almost 5 years. Wow. And during that time, I did a lot of drawing of the people who were there and their homes and the way they communicated with each other through drumbeat and how that was reiterated in the woven mats that they made. There would be a pattern that would go 1/3 of the way through, and then all of a sudden the pattern would change and the beat would change in the drum, and you could see how it was reiterated in the visual forms that they made, and how the change in the visual forms communicated something when it was a rondavel, when the pattern went around and there were no corners. All of a sudden the corners were there because they were building rectangular houses like the European people. And so the communication changed right away. The visual communication changed. I wondered about the drum beat. I wondered if the drum beat would change, but it seems to be the heartbeat of the people, so it will continue, I'm sure. But again, I learned so much. And when I came back to Canada, I was so surprised at sort of some of the crassness of the philosophy and the environmental issues that were here that we were ignoring. And after seeing land turned into desert, and wetlands being dried out in Africa because people were so hungry and encroached on the wetlands, I was actually so appalled at what was happening to our beautiful delta in Vancouver, the delta area and Richmond and all that, and what was happening to our wetlands and how we were dumping things on top of them and draining them And these are the sources of water and also for our wildlife. And I've just, back in the 1970s, when I was at the University of Calgary, I did a series of work that in a way was very apropos for that time, but seems even more so now. And I did a lot of lithographs, one of which is over here, of the last tree of 73. So that was done in 1973. But I was so concerned about the rate that we were denuding the land and polluting the water and caring less about the air that I did this one big tree. And I thought to myself, if we go on like this, we're going to have a park for a tree. And in that tree will be all the birds and the bird nests and the roses and the life that lived in a forest. You know, we don't realize that some of the small decisions that we make now, even those small decisions, they have an impact for later. And so that's the one called the last tree of 73. And that went to Chicago and Montreal and down to San Francisco with a group of other artists' images that I thought were very interesting too, because we were talking the same language. And from that, I have gone into this large panorama that you see behind you, Jennifer, that I just wanted to paint from my heart. That this came from nowhere. I didn't copy it. It came from my heart. Trees, and not trees so much as hills and landscape and skyscapes and waterscapes and rock formations that I just love in the West Coast here and other places I have been. And over on the right panel, I've placed some very strong, flat, hard-edged things that represent what humankind do to the environment. And lots of times they're very beautiful. I mean, we make beautiful buildings, we make beautiful bridges. We have the capability of doing all that. But every time we do it, we implant that on a natural form, which wasn't part of the original plan. And so the dams and the roads and the tarmac are here on the right-hand side. They're indicated very gently. And I'm hoping that they're as beautiful in some ways as nature itself. But we don't realize that by damming something up and, pressing the tarmac into the grass or dumping something on top of the existing natural formation, that we are making an impact, not only today, but down the road a long distance. And in this painting, you can see that it goes through the middle panel, which nothing seems to be happening, but then ends up on the left-hand side with the polar bear. And when I was drawing this, I thought, how can I show the disconnect of the what was and what is that's coming from, from the whole warming of the earth, the changes, the ice breaking up, the mother bear not being able to deal with her baby because she can't get it up on the ice falling apart underneath them. And so I cut the polar bear in half and I divided it. I thought, this is what's happening. There's a disconnect. This polar bear that's so used to being on strong ice is now on watery, slushy water and does not get the food that it needs. And it's not so adaptable as the other bears, the brown bears and the grizzlies and whatnot. So I have this worry inside me that we do not realize the implication of what we do. And then I've been seeing articles about, like McLean said, we're shooting the polar bears. Well, they're already having such a difficult time. What's going to happen to them? I, for one, really care. And I in the same article, it's you see this picture of all these polar bear hides and fox and everything. I thought we were over that. I thought we'd gone beyond that. What's wrong with us? Don't we learn? Can't we see from past generations what happens when you do that to the animals? And someone said to me just recently, well, why are you worrying about it? I mean, the wolves needed to be culled because they're starving. And I'm saying, why are they starving? Because we killed all the rodents that they used to eat and the rabbits and whatnot. We upset the ecology.
Yeah.
It's what we have done. It's not their fault. And then in the paper about the wolves that were going to be I mean, I cut this stuff out all the time because I can't, I just have to speak about it. I mean, imagine wolf hunting contest. Imagine taking a life of a mother wolf or a father or a child or a nephew or a cousin. These are families. I mean, I learned that from the African elephant, that these are families. And when you take the big DNA out of that family, the strength goes away, and ultimately that little unit becomes weaker and weaker. And here they have presented to the public, and I forget, this is on November the 21st, 2012, this ugly wolf with its teeth bared, frightened to death with its hair standing up, wanting the public to say, well, we've got to get rid of that creature. If that's what a wolf is like, let's shoot it. And won't it be fun to, get the big ones and $1,500 or something that they're going to get for the big ones, and the little ones just $250 because they're not worth it. Maybe that little $250 wolf is going to be the ones with the history and the mind that's going to save that wolf pack. Yeah. So all these systems are being broken by people not understanding what they're all about and thinking of it as target practice. If we can see all these animals as targets, then we can also see human beings as targets. And once we look at them as targets, we don't have to deal with the fact that sociologically these are other living beings that inhabit the earth, and all living things are precious. And to me, well, we better start thinking about all of us living together somehow. I just don't know how that's going to happen. It seems an endless job, but I'm willing to put my part in. I want to get some of these paintings out. I really, really want to get some of the ideas out visually so that others can see them, what I'm thinking. And I'm sure I'm not alone.
No.
I mean...
No, I don't think you are in any way. And your passion for this definitely comes across in the work that I'm surrounded by here. And I'd love to put a picture or two on the site so you can come and look. And the pictures won't do the art justice, but if you'd like to come over to the website and check them out. Where do your art pieces end up?
Well, I'm not a very good person to put my work out. It sort of finds the right people. I wish that when we were studying art that someone had given us a course in how to market ourselves. Young people today are so much better at that. But it's sort of word of mouth. It's like, if it's going to get out there, the right people will find it. And it over the years, I have put things into galleries, into the commercial gallery, like in Maui and Lahaina. I was there for many, many years. And I tried to do suitcase art that the people would want to put in their suitcase and take home. But it just didn't work for me. I had to say what I needed to say in a larger format, and my things don't fit in a suitcase, nor do my ideas, because I want them out of the suitcase. I want them out there being talked about. And see these little red spots that are on that painting. People say, what did you do that for? I put those there because there are so many issues surrounding us right now that we aren't even aware of. That they're just dancing in the air. It's like the Jungian thought of the universal thought. Once you put the idea out, it will move. It will get to its destination. It'll be the new thought that comes. Well, those are the things that we still have to deal with, and thoughts that are out there to tackle, get hold of, and to pull down and talk about and deal with. So that's why they're there. And that's how I feel my art is, that when I do something, the right person, the right place will be found for it. And I frankly have to say, I think it's possibly that my generation did not know how to use media to get our things out. And you'd go with the gallery, and the gallery was commercial. And if it wasn't the kind of imagery that people wanted to buy for their rooms, it didn't go with the cushions, or it didn't go with the bedroom spread or the bedspread or something, then it didn't get bought. But these are not pictures for the bedroom. No. These are pictures about things that I care about so deeply that if people connect with them, then they want them around. They want them in their home. They want them to be part of them. But they're not done to decorate. They're done to say something, they are communication pieces. They're my words, because I can speak about things. And I have, and that's how I've made most of my living, is that in connection with my art. but it's really important. People look at things, but if you don't explain them a little bit, they don't often have the language to understand what you are saying. So I'm thinking of how this can happen in a gallery like the Surrey Art Gallery. Very innovative. And I could see one day having something in there that involved some media, some speech, some images, some movement, some a film, something that is a communication smorgasbord that will get the message out.
Right, because sometimes that's the issue with art, is it's left up to people's interpretation, and if you don't understand the genesis of it, then you might not understand the communication.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, lots of times things are said, and if people haven't got the readiness to hear it, they don't hear it. Mm-hmm. If they don't have the readiness to see it, they don't see it. Mm-hmm. And so this group that I have of university women came to me someone said one day in the University Women's group club, would you think of doing something in art for art appreciation? And I thought about it, and I thought, well, these are all very educated people. They probably had courses in art education. They probably have art collections at home. What could I say to them? What do they need? What are they wanting? But what has happened is, from a small group, it has grown and grown and grown. And people seem to be very open to learning beyond where they are. Mm. And it is really a group about communication, about reading what is out there visually, interpreting it, putting it into words, putting into experience and emotional kind of response, to the point that we have just had the richest of experiences. Mm. There's a real need for that interpretation of the visual through the verbal. Mm-hmm. And I truly, really look forward every month to meeting with these people, and we keep some communication going in between. Next time we meet, we're going to talk about the creative mind. Mm. And we're visiting 3 people in Point Grey living in the same house that have 3 different ways of communicating in some creative way. Very exciting moment for all of us. We're going to celebrate a bit of Christmas as well.
Oh, nice.
But truly, it's going to be a wonderful experience each time we meet together. And the Surrey Art Gallery has been very helpful to us as well and opened up their facility to us. But we meet to discover and to extend and to stretch our understanding of what the visual word and communication system is all about.
And you meet with these women monthly, or how often?
We meet monthly, but sometimes we have 2 different activities during the month. It depends on what comes up on the horizon that we feel is important to add to our experience of stretching our minds and our understanding of the visual form.
And are these all artists, these women?
No, there are 2 or 3 in the group that enjoy doing their own art. But most people are just interested women who are very keen on extending their understanding of the visual form or the visual communication. It's a very exciting group. And they've given me an opportunity to speak about some of the things that I'm very keen on as well. So I appreciate that.
It sounds like a wonderful group of people to gather together. I wanted to ask you a little bit about the horse project you just did. You painted a beautiful, very large horse that I have seen over in one of the local business establishments, and I wondered if you could talk about your horse.
Well, my horse. For a long time, my family would hear I have to go to the barn to paint the horse. And I borrowed this. My neighbor was so kind and said, "This great big horse that you're getting, how big is it?" Well, it's about 10 feet long, and how heavy is? Well, it's almost 300 pounds of fiberglass. And I thought, I don't think this is going to fit into my studio, and I don't think it'll fit into my garage. But my neighbor said, I don't use my garage. I work all day. You could put the horse in there. And I thought, I'll have it done in a month. Well, 2 months later, I was finished with it. But I loved the anatomy of the horse, and it was a very beautiful thing to work on. The design that I chose, I felt I wanted to embellish the beautiful anatomy of the horse itself. I didn't want to use it as a canvas to put trees and lakes and cars or whatever on. I wanted it to be embellished, almost like a tattooed harness that would take the roundness of the buttocks and the lovely mane and the long neck and the jawbone, the swirling nature of the jawbone. And so I just let my hand and my imagination just roam the horse and draw on it what I thought would be appropriate for the area that it would go into, which is a very horsey area, the wonderful, wonderful horses and lots of equestrian events that happened there in Langley. And the Arts Council there wanted to raise some money for children's art, and I was willing because of my teaching over the years and my interest in having people learn how to get going with their visual communication systems. I was willing to do this. And so after it was finished, it is now in the over in the area waiting to go into its final resting platform, I guess, in the park. And it will be in a children's park just in Brookswood in Langley. Mm. And so hopefully that will inspire other people to do some more of the horses, which the merchants all bought into and the city of Langley bought into, and raise money for the children's art in the area. So it was a fun thing to do. I got very fond of the horse. It was kind of sad to see it go, but every time I do a painting, I get very close to it as well. And I have to say, okay, that's it, done. You got more in there. Get going on the next one. And so this is what's been happening.
It's almost like birthing something and then off it has to go.
Yeah, you're quite right. That's a very good analogy indeed. Because you have to have so much inside that's steaming up and moving up until it flows over. Mm. And it's like giving birth. And once it's out there and you work on it and it's like raising a child, it's like the domino effect. Every time you do something to it in one area, it affects something else. Something like what we were talking about as human beings, making decisions and thinking that they don't have any implication for the future. Well, they do, because you change something on the painting, like this one that I just finished is 4x4 feet. And I worked on that for about 3 months, because every time I put some color or a change in one part of it, it affected everything else. So I had to balance it. It's like our lives. It's like the environment. We have to keep in mind the long-term view, because everything we do does have implication. Mm-hmm. And everything we say has implication. Mm-hmm. So it's not just a one-way street. It's two, isn't it? It's three, it's four. It's all kinds of people communicating for different reasons visually. And that's why we have artists out there and writers and speakers, and very exciting that I can be part of it. I really enjoy it very much, and I don't think I'll ever be finished with it, because communication is never perfect, and no painting is ever perfect, and so it's just forever just tweaking it and moving with it and enjoying it and risking. I think to risk I think that I risk a lot of things in this painting. I think I risk a lot of things there. I know I will risk a lot when I try to get these bears that I hope to make in plexiglass. I will risk a lot, because they will be personally my message. Who cares, Is there anyone out there who does care? Well, if they do, they will react to it and take time to find out what it's all about. So that's part of communication, is to have the other person listening or seeing or responding.
And it sounds like you've touched many lives with the work that you've done, both speaking work and visual work, as you've progressed on this journey.
Well, and not intentionally. It was just my personal journey, and I've been surprised at when people do respond to it and get back to me about it. I go, oh wow, I didn't realize it would go that direction, So that's it wasn't intentional. It was just me as a child growing and considering and thinking and getting educated and being able to say something about it to someone else. It's just life's journey, isn't it? Isn't it exciting that I've had all those opportunities to teach and meet exciting people, and it continues for me, and that's what I love. I just enjoy it so much.
I can tell. I'm looking at your body language, and you're just all lit up and on fire here. It's been so wonderful to talk to you, Marilyn. I wonder if people want to get in touch with you, where can they reach you?
Well, I do have an email. I have a very poor website, which I always hope to update, and my son-in-law says he's going to do that with me and for me. But I'm so busy doing these other things. My email is dyerseid, all one, and then at shaw.ca.
Okay.
So I put the Dyer side together as one, one word.
All right. So we'll put that on the show notes at communicationdiva.com if people want to take a look at some of the pictures of Marilyns' work and contact her and find out more. That will be available for you out there. And if there is one piece of advice that you'd like to give the Communication Diva listener today, what would that be?
Oh, just keep listening, keep learning, keep communicating, keep the avenues open for all of that, because there's lots to do and so many exciting things to be part of in this life. To miss any of it would be just a terrible shame, I think. And I just feel like we have so many beautiful opportunities. I wish I understood more about the media than I do, but I can still learn that too. But just keep going and feel like the excitement of it, that we do have a chance to have a voice in this country of Canada, that we do have a chance to communicate openly, we do have a chance to make the statements that are important to us. And if we lived somewhere else in the world, that might not be the case. So bravo, Canada. But let's keep it open, and let's keep it really working towards open communication and good ideas. Like let's make decisions. I just want everyone to make decisions that are good for the environment, this beautiful, wonderful world that we've been born into and have an opportunity to stay on for a very short time. With other creatures, every little bug to me is important. Every grass, they're all there. Dandelions are important. Little mice are important. They're all the things that feed from the bottom that go up to the top. And so I think that we can be part of that system.
Lovely. Thank you, Marilyn. I enjoyed speaking with you today.
Oh, thank you, Jennifer, for coming and giving me this opportunity. I just loved it. And I'm so happy to be able to show you some of my work and what I'm thinking about doing. And it's just been delightful. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you. So there you are. That was my conversation with Marilyn Dyer. And if you'd like to come over to www.communicationdiva.com, you can see several of the photographs of Marilyns' art on the website. Now, they're not particularly brilliant photographs. Some of them are, they were taken with my iPhone, and some of them were actually photos of photos. So take a look at them. It gives you an idea of what it is that she does. But if you want more information, Marilyn is completely open to communicating with people about what she does. And her email is also listed there on the website. So check it out, see what she does. There's a picture of her horse there as well. And again, I've been in person to see this horse because it is currently in a local business waiting for transfer to the children's park. But I think they're probably waiting until the weather's a little bit nicer and when they can have a bit of a grand unveiling of this beautiful horse. So there you go. Many thanks again for taking time out of your day to listen, and I wish you all of the best of the season, whether you're celebrating Christmas or not. I hope that you will come back to Communication Diva and listen again, and that you will come over and say hello via Twitter or Facebook or on the website. I've had a few people come and say hello and make some connections, and it's been wonderful to do that. Also, if you are coming to Vegas in January to the New Media Expo, be sure to find me and say hello. I will be at the conference, and I will be one of the speakers at the conference on the very first day. I think that is January 6th in the podcasting track. So until next time, hopefully I will put out a podcast, a short one on Christmas Eve. But if not, many blessings. Take care.